For some viewers, wire fu looks fake, too light, too floaty, too unreal. But without wire fu, modern action cinema would look different. What many people dismiss as flying kung fu is actually one of the oldest cinematic languages in martial arts history. A language designed not to show how people fight, but how legends move. This is not the story of wires. This is the story of myth, motion, and cinema. What is wire fu? Wire fu is often misunderstood. It is not meant to simulate realistic combat. It is not about physical accuracy, and it is not about hiding wires perfectly. Wire fu is a visual metaphor. It represents internal energy, spiritual mastery. The idea that a warrior, through discipline and cultivation, can transcend normal human limits. In wire fu, weightlessness is not a mistake, it is the point. Wire fu does not show how martial artists fight, it shows how heroes from legend fight. The roots, beyond realism. Wire fu did not begin in the 1960s. It began almost as early as Chinese cinema itself. The burning of the Red Lotus Temple, probably the very first martial arts film, shot 1928 in China, already featured flying warriors and gravity-defying combat. Unfortunately, no copies have survived. Audiences immediately embraced it because Wuxia was never about realism. It was about fantasy, morality, and myth. Cinema inherited these ideas from two ancient sources. First, Chinese opera, where movement was symbolic. A leap could represent flight. A spin suggested superhuman speed. Performers were not trying to convince the audience that something was real. They were trying to express meaning. Second, classical Wuxia novels described warriors who mastered Ching, the art of lightness. Heroes who could glide across rooftops or dance above bamboo forests through inner cultivation, not physical strength. Wire fu was simply cinema giving motion to ideas that had existed for centuries. The invisible dance, the mechanics of the pull. But how is this poetry actually made? To understand wire fu, you have to look past the actor. Behind the camera stands a team of wire pullers, often 4 or 5 stuntmen for a single performer. This isn't a mechanical winch, it is a human tug of war. The pullers must feel the actor's rhythm. If they pull a fraction of a second too early, the movement looks jerky. Too late, and the actor hits the ground. It was and is dangerous work. In the golden era, piano wires were kept as thin as possible to make them easier to hide. These wires could snap under the tension, leading to broken bones and narrow escape.
You have 3 or 4 guys who is hoisting us up in the air and letting us down. So the timing of you and the 5 guys has to be so impeccable to get that right shot.
King Hu, poetry and illusion. The filmmaker who truly translated this tradition into cinematic language was King Hu. A former set decorator and painter, Hu didn't just direct scenes, he composed them like classical scrolls. With Come Drink With Me, Dragon Inn, and a touch of Zen, he elevated martial arts cinema into visual poetry. His fight scenes were not driven by the bone-crunching impact of later films. They were driven by rhythm and the manipulation of space. Hu understood that wire fu was about the transition between absolute stillness and explosive motion. He was the master of the glance cut, ultra-short edits, sometimes just 6 to 8 frames long. By cutting mid-air, he made a jump look like a blur of divine speed, leaving the audience's imagination to fill in the gaps. In the legendary bamboo forest fight of A Touch of Zen, Hu utilized hidden trampolines integrated into the environment, combined with precision wire work. He created the Zen leap, a movement so fast and ethereal it felt like the characters were transcending the physical world entirely. For King Hu, the illusion mattered more than the method. He didn't care about showing a technique, He cared about showing a spiritual awakening through motion. He didn't create action scenes, he created moving paintings. Shaw Brothers, style becomes system. The Shaw Brothers took this cinematic language and industrialized it. Inside their studio system, wire-fu became standardized. Directors like Chang Che fused wire-assisted movement with masculine tragedy. Here, heroes didn't just float to express spirituality, they flew to express dominance. The Shaw Brothers made wire-fu mainstream, bold, and unmistakably theatrical, and audiences loved it. The Shaw Brothers did not invent wire-fu, they made it mainstream. The realism revolt, Bruce Lee. However, the floaty style had its critics. Bruce Lee rejected wire-fu almost entirely. His philosophy emphasized grounding, speed, and direct physical expression. His strikes had weight, his feet stayed on the ground, strikes felt immediate and real. Alongside him was Lau Kar-lung, a purist who sought to portray martial arts as authentically as possible. For a time, realism overtook myth. Audiences wanted sweat, muscle, and impact. But cinema rarely stays in one mode for long. Siu-tung, visual vertigo. In the 1980s, the pendulum swung back with a vengeance. The man leading the charge was Siu-tung. If King Hu was a poet, Siu-tung was a visionary of the surreal. In his 1983 masterpiece, Duel to the Death, he broke the shackles of reality entirely. He pioneered what critics called visual vertigo. He used wires to create impossible angles, 360-degree spins, and combat that felt like a fever dream. Siu-tung understood that wire-fu didn't have to be elegant. It could be violent, chaotic, and breathtakingly fast.
Tsui Hark and the 90s reinvention. This era paved the way for Tsui Hark, the man often called the Steven Spielberg of Asia. In the late 80s and early 90s, Tsui Hark didn't just use wire-fu, he weaponized it. In films like Once Upon a Time in China, Swordsmen 2, and the groundbreaking Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain, gravity was no longer bent, it was ignored. Tsui Hark's new wave, Wuxia, introduced a frantic energy where fighters didn't just leap, they spiraled, ricocheted, and flew through the air like human missiles. This era turned wire-fu into kinetic insanity. He embraced the supernatural, using wires to depict dark magic and gender-bending power, most famously with Brigitte Lin's Invincible Asia. Central to this era was Jet Li. Li provided the perfect bridge between tradition and modernity. His impeccable classical form provided the foundation, while Tsui Hark's explosive wire-assisted speed provided the spectacle. Under Tsui Hark's direction, the environment itself became a weapon. Ladders, umbrellas, and bamboo poles became extensions of the wires. It wasn't about one man fighting another, it was about the collision of forces that felt cosmic in scale. Tsui Hark didn't just reinvent wire-fu, he pushed it to its absolute limits, making it the dominant visual style for a generation. Global explosion. The Western adaptation. By the mid-1990s, the energy of Hong Kong could no longer be contained in Asia. But before it hit the silver screen in Hollywood, wire-fu infiltrated Western pop culture through an unexpected gateway: syndicated television. Series like Xena, Warrior Princess, and Hercules, The Legendary Journeys became a Trojan horse for Hong Kong aesthetics. The creators, including Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert, were massive fans of Asian cinema and began hiring Hong Kong-trained stunt coordinators to bring that weightless flair to the small screen.
Suddenly, Western audiences were seeing Xena performing 360-degree wire-assisted kicks and gravity-defying flips that were direct, often shot-for-shot homages to Hong Kong martial arts films. While it was often presented with a campy, lighthearted tone, Xena proved that Western audiences were ready for the visual language of the weightless warrior. This paved the way for the year 2000, when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon reintroduced wire fu to the global cinema audience as high art. Here, flight became emotion, movement became longing. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon became a surprise international success, grossing $214 million worldwide on a $17 million budget, paving the way for other Chinese wuxia films like Hero and House of Flying Daggers. Then came The Matrix. With Yen Wu-ping's choreography, Hong Kong wire fu merged with Hollywood sci-fi. But there was a fundamental difference in the transition. In Hong Kong, wires were used to enhance the legendary skill of the actor, working in harmony with their physical training. In Hollywood, wires and the emerging CGI were often used to replace a lack of martial arts training. The West didn't invent wire fu. It finally learned how to frame it. Decline and survival. Eventually, wire fu's popularity in the West declined. The overuse of CGI reduced the physical presence of the stunts. When there is no real tension on a real wire, the weightless motion loses its soul. But while Western tastes shifted back towards grounded brutality, wire fu never disappeared in the East. In Chinese television and cinema, the wuxia tradition remains alive. Wire fu didn't fade away. It stayed where it was always understood. Conclusion. Wire fu is not about realism. It is about transcendence. It is cinema's way of visualizing inner strength and spiritual mastery. As long as we tell myths, as long as our heroes are larger than life, wire fu will return. Because sometimes cinema doesn't need gravity. It needs poetry. If you think wire fu is fake, you missed the point.